Hey guys, Will here. So since I did my review of the Simagic M10 wheelbase and GT1 and GT4 wheels last week, you guys have been asking a lot of questions about these bits of hardware. And one of the biggest questions that's been coming up is around the quick release system compatibility with other wheelbases more specifically. So we're going to be taking a look at that in more detail in today's video. More specifically, I'm going to be converting the GT1 wheel that I have here over to my Simucube quick release system so I can use it with my Simucube 2 Ultimate. We'll also take a look at the wheelbase side as well and see how that could be moved across onto a different wheelbase if you didn't want to change the quick release on the wheels. We'll also take a look at the Fanatec ecosystem as well. So we'll take a look at all the possible scenarios today and cover it in as much detail as we possibly can. So let's get stuck into it. So we'll start off by looking at the GT1 wheel here. Now you can see you've got 3 screws here, but I'm guessing that we're going to have another 3 screws underneath this panel as well. So we'll remove this panel first. If you have a look at the quick release side there, you can see there's not really anything exposed there in terms of screws or anything like that. So it's a little bit of anybody's guess as to what we'll actually find behind there. But we'll start off by undoing the screws here. We'll remove the plate. We should then be able to remove the wheel, remove the sandwich control box in the middle there as well, and take a quicker look at the quick release. So we'll start off by undoing the 3 screws on the top here. So it's just a 3mm Allen key. Okay, that's the carbon fiber panel loose. You can see there it is actually carbon fiber all the way through. I thought we might reveal some FRP or something like that behind there, but no, it looks like it is genuine carbon fiber all the way through. So that's a nice little thing to note. So then we do have 3 more screws underneath, just like we expected. So nice long screws there. Looks like these are screwing all the way back through into the quick release. So the thread must be on the quick release, I would say. But we'll confirm that in just a moment as well. So remove those 3. So we've got 6 screws in total so far. Lift off the wheel. So that's all fine. You can see there we have the plate as well. And there you go. The quick release is coming off there too. So we've got 2 wires there. So that settles the questions that we had around whether it was Bluetooth or a physical connection to the quick release. You can see we do have those 5 pins in the quick release there that we mentioned previously, but you can see unequivocally there that only 2 of those pins are being used. So that obviously is power. So we'll just quickly disconnect that from the back of the wheel as well, like so. And that is our quick release removed from the back of the wheel. So let's just quickly have a look at the components that we have here. So we'll start off by having a look at the stud pattern of the wheel itself. So let's grab that quickly for you. So that looks like it's 70 millimeters, a little bit crude there, but you can see it's 70 millimeters. Now, interestingly, you can see on the back of the quick release there are a couple of different stud patterns available. So let's just quickly have a look at that too. So we've got a 70mm PCD as well as, let's stretch that out. I'm guessing it's going to be 74mm. Yeah, there we go, 73.9, 74, yep. So we've got a 74 as well as a 73mm stud pattern there available for various different wheel types. So I think it's Nardi wheels use a 74mm stud pattern, don't quote me on that, and Momo and Sparko use the 70mm like what we have here. So that's good that the quick release, at least we can see there, has the 74 and the 70mm, so that means it's nice and adaptable, and yeah, all we need to worry about is power. So most wheels that you'd be mounting onto the Simagic quick release to use with your Simagic wheelbase would have their own power via USB most likely, so you probably would just end up disconnecting that lead there. You can see it does have a little plug there. I'll show you on the camera there. You can see there's a little plug there as well that you can undo, so you can remove that cable entirely. And then obviously in doing that, the pins that you have on the inside, then I'll give you a closer look at those again just quickly now. Those pins would become completely redundant. So that is all well and good. That means that we can mount different wheels to the quick release and use them directly on the M10. Now, I will just quickly note as well for you, I'll just bring the M10 across quickly. So we can see on the top of the motor shaft here that we have a little USB port. Now this is for programming use only, I'm told. So you can't plug another peripheral into this port as if it was a USB port on the computer and expect it to work like a USB hub. And I did test that out. I plugged in a keyboard and a mouse and absolutely nothing happened. So yeah, I'm told that that is a programming port. So if you're using an aftermarket wheel, don't think that you can just plug the USB port into here and it will work. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Now there is a revised motor shaft design as well. I'll flick a picture up on the screen for you now so you can see what I'm talking about. about. But I don't know whether that still has a USB port or not. I haven't been able to confirm that just yet. But yeah, that port for all intents and purposes for the user is redundant, unless you're having to flash firmware or something like that, I would assume. But yeah, don't go thinking that you can plug an aftermarket wheel directly into that. So I just wanted to clarify that for you quickly before we move on. We'll take a look at the quick release on the wheel side in just a moment. But let's go back to mounting our Simucube quick release onto the GT1 wheel here. So we've got our wheel, 70mm stud pattern here, 70mm stud pattern on the plate as well with the shifters. And you can see on the back of the shifter plate here, we've disconnected the power. We've got our USB connection here, which remains for connecting directly to the PC. Now the cool thing here, and I'll show you this when we get to actually driving with it, you don't have to actually install any software to use the buttons. It does work just natively in the Windows software, but you can see there, it's the old style mini USB connection, not the micro that we had on smartphones up until USB-C came out, so just pay attention to that as well. Now, the units do ship with a relatively low quality USB cable, at least mine did. You're probably going to want to buy a proper coiled cable, a decent high quality coiled cable if you're seriously going to be using this with a different wheelbase. But yeah, that's the connection that we're going to be using there. So let's go ahead and get this all mounted now. So we'll flip it over, get everything lined up here. So here in my hand, I have the SQR quick release from Simucube, but this can be replaced with any other quick release system that you want to use. As long as it has a 70mm stud pattern on the back here, you should be good to go. So this is all going to line up pretty nicely with our wheelbase. We are going to be a little bit off center here, but that's okay. We can calibrate for that in the Simucube TrueDrive software. So it's going to be a little bit off center. What we'll do is I'll drop our screws through from the front. So I'm not entirely sure that the screws that we took out of the wheel are going to be long enough to go back through the wheel and account for the thickness of the quick release as well as the nut. So we do have some other screws that I can use if that fails, but let's go ahead and try that now. So we'll start off by running the screws. It's going to be a little bit awkward to do on camera, but we'll run a screw through here. Try not to scratch our control panel either. Through there. Oh, we might be okay here actually. Might have just enough. So put the finger there as well. Drop our quick release on, and yeah, we are going to have enough length that we can just put our little nut on there. So I'll quickly grab my nuts. Oh boy, this is going south. All right, let's put the nuts on. And we'll just go around, install all 6, and we'll be ready to test it out. I just realised I forgot to reinstall the carbon fibre panel. How many of you guys picked that as I was doing it? All right, we'll get that sorted. We'll come back when it's all done. And there we have a Simucube 2 converted Simagic GT1 wheel. Simple as that. So before we move over to the PC and test it out, I just want to quickly show you how this would be done on the GT4 wheel as well, because the process is a little bit different here. We have to remove the entire front plate, but I'll just quickly show you that as well so you get the idea. We're not going to actually convert it, but yeah, you'll see what I mean when I open this up for you as well. So I've quickly dismantled the GT4 rim and have run into something that was a little bit unexpected here. So we had to undo the 4 bolts that secured the front plate in place here. Lift that up, and then there was 3 screws inside here that you can see the 3 holes for, 1, 2, 3 there. The cable then threads through the middle and plugs into the little connection just there on the board. But you can see here the stud pattern for the quick release that's on the GT4 wheel that I have here is totally different to the quick release that we had on the GT1 wheel. Now, I don't know whether that's because this GT4 wheel is a pre-production. I'm going to have to confirm that later on. I'm hoping to get my hands on the final release wheel. So you can see here that is a 50mm stud pattern it looks like. So just to note that quickly, if you are wanting to use the quick release from the GT4, at least the one that I have here, it looks like it's a 50mm stud pattern. I'll try and confirm that for you guys and let you know in the comments whether that's the way they're actually going to be shipping from the factory. But yeah, different quick release to what we had on the GT1 wheel. So just note that. So you will need to have an adapter to go down to 50mm to fit the back of the wheel there. And we've got the 3 holes there again that you'll be using to mount the GT4 wheel. So that is the way we will do that one. So I'll quickly chuck this back together again now, and then we can have a look at the wheelbase side and see how that would be converted to a different ecosystem as well. So let's have a look at the wheelbase side of the quick release now. And it looks like we have the same 70 or 74mm stud pattern around the outside perimeter of the quick release. But we'll check that in a moment against the quick release that we took off our GT1 wheel. But we have these 2 little Allen keys here. Now we know from looking at the wheels that we think that only 2 of these pins are in use for all wheels. So it'll be really interesting to open this up and have a look inside to see whether that is indeed the case, whether there's no other connections internally here. So we'll quickly take this off here. We're going to pay attention to the orientation. We know that the pins face to the left when the wheel is centered. So we'll take these little screws out here. These are, for reference, 2mm Allen keys. Okay, it looks like it's coming off with relative ease here. Okay, and yeah, I can see there, straight away, we've got 2 pins there that are connected to that PCB. So definitely only the power that's connected there, no other pins. So there you go, that's that little mystery solved. So let's undo the other bolts here as well. We'll quickly disconnect this connection here. So that comes off like that. And we should be able to then undo these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts, slide that off. The cable should remain, and then we can have a look at how this would be mounted to another wheelbase as well. Now it's very important here, we don't want to lose track of our center. So we know the USB port was on the top, so we're going to leave that there. We're going to loosen off all these screws. We're going to be very careful when we put everything back together, we put it back in exactly the same orientation that we took it apart, just to make absolutely sure. Okay, and this should now just slide off. There we go. So you do have this little connection here that's just sort of floating around, and there's no eloquent way to feed that back through. So if you were going to mount a different quick release on here, you'd need to cut out a notch or something like that to tuck this cable away so it doesn't become damaged. Obviously it becomes redundant if you're using it with something else, but you're always going to want to be able to go back again. Now again, this is the old style motor shaft. There is an updated motor shaft coming, so I can't speak to that. But yeah, looking at this, there's no way to sort of tuck this wire back away, which means you wouldn't be able to easily mount a different quick release unless you had space to feed that through. Now, because it does sort of sit in the middle here, hopefully you would be able to do that. But yeah, just so we're aware of that. But we do have a 50mm stud pattern there by the looks of things, a 3x50. But it looks here like we have a 3x50mm stud pattern as well as our 6x70mm stud pattern as well. So as long as your quick release that you're wanting to mount is compatible with that and you do have space to thread that cable through, then you should be all good. So yeah, as I said, don't know whether that's going to be the same case with the updated all black motor shaft, but at least with this one, you know that that's what you're going to get. So let's get that reassembled quickly now. Now, one other little point to note here is that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 divots for the ball bearings on the top and 1, 2, 3, 4 for the bottom. So the 4 go on the bottom, the 6 go on the top. Don't get that wrong. Feed it through here. And then it's simple as mounting our 6 bolts, mounting our 2 bolts back in for the connection, making sure that we don't forget to plug it in, and we're good to go. So before we move over into the sim rig to test out our freshly converted GT1 wheel, just want to quickly fill you in on Fanatec and compatibility there as well. So I'm not going to dismantle my Porsche wheel here. I do have an assembly video which I'll link above my head for you now if you want to see how this goes together. But this uses the podium hub from Fanatec. And now this has a 50 as well as a 70mm stud pattern. So this will be compatible with both of these wheels. Now I don't have one here to show you, but the Club Sport Universal hub for Xbox One is also compatible with 50mm and 70mm stud patterns as well. So those will work with both of these wheels as well. But in terms of actual conversion, simracingmachines.com sell USB conversion kits. So if you want to use a Fanatec wheel with a Simagic wheelbase, you can do that. You'll need to, there's a couple of different ways you could do it. You could convert it across to be this quick release system and USB convert the wheel so you plug it directly into the PC and use it that way. Or you could do a Fanatec conversion using a aftermarket adapter for the quick release side, but you would still need to USB convert your Fanatec wheel to use it on the M10 because obviously using a aftermarket quick release is just the mechanism itself and not the connections, not the data and all that sort of thing. So if you want to use Fanatec wheels on the M10, you would have to get an aftermarket adapter for the quick release or convert your Fanatec wheel across to the Simagic quick release system or any other quick release system that you wanted. And then conversely, if you were wanting to use a Simagic wheel on a Fanatec wheelbase, you'd need to get either the podium hub or the Club Sport Universal hub and then also connect the wheel directly to your PC via USB as well. All those scenarios will work. They're just going to be a little bit of stuffing around to get it all happening. But yeah, you can use these wheels with the Fanatec wheelbase if you connect them directly to the PC and convert them across to the Universal hub mounting as well. But the screw holes will fit. So yeah, that all looks like it's good, at least on the pre-production version that I have here. And I will try to get my hands on the final production GT4 wheel as well, just to confirm 100% that it is still that 50mm stud pattern. So anyway, let's move across onto the sim rig now and test out our converted GT1 wheel. All right, so we've got the wheel here. Let's plug it into the USB mini port that we have here. We've just got a long USB cable here that I had laying around. I'm not going to use the one that was supplied with the wheel because it is a little bit too chunky and not quite flexible enough. Now, it would be nice if we had some sort of a strain relief here, and I think I might even actually end up adding just a little cable hanger or something off one of these bolts just to give me something
to protect the cable there so that if it gets pulled, it's not going to yank on the actual connector there. The connector itself does actually sit sandwiched inside the metal housing there, so it should relieve any stress without snapping the connection off the PCB. So that's, quite clever the way they've designed that, but I would like to just have a little bit of extra protection there, so it's the cable that cops it and not the port if there's ever a problem. So yeah, also you might want to look at getting a coiled cable as well if you're going to be using one of these permanently. For me, I'm only going to be testing out for a couple of days though, so I'm just going to use the cable that I had laying around. So that's done. We'll mount that there, then we'll slide it onto our quick release, exactly the same way as we'd mount any other wheel with the SQR quick release. Pin goes in the back. And we are all good. So we'll get this cable routed down to my USB hub, and I'll quickly show you how the software works. So you can see here our buttons are all illuminated, so everything's working. So let's just quickly jump across to desktop and I'll show you how the software side of things works. So this is actually pretty cool. You don't need to have the Simagic software installed at all to use one of these with another wheelbase. So we'll just click on Simagic Hub here, which is the wheel connected in hub mode. So you can see we've got the Simucube 2 Ultimate, we've got my shifter connected via USB, we've got my button box and my V3 pedals all being detected here. So we click on properties. And obviously you're not going to have any axes running because this doesn't have any analog axes when it's not connected to the Simagic hub. But you can see my buttons are all being detected on the screen there. I'll just zoom in a little bit on this for you so you can see it a bit better. There you go. So paddles are working, 13 and 14 there. Those are being detected, those are being detected. Rotary encoders just work as a pulse, so you can see up and down there. Down is 11, up is 12. 9 and 10 for the other side. And that is it. We've got our toggle switch here as well, which is 1 and 4. The toggle switch on the left, as we said in the software review, is a programming mode switch. You can use that to change the LED flash mode. So if you want to see that, check out that other video. So that is it, guys. It feels nice and solid on the Simucube, as you would expect. There's a little bit of flex front to back like that, but we covered that in the hardware review as well. It's no more than you would have with any other sort of wheel of this diameter, I don't think. Feels about the same as the Porsche 911 wheel from Fanatec. So no complaints there, everything feels good, and yeah, I'll be using this for the next couple of days in my driving videos as well, so you get to see how it performs as a driver on the Simucube 2 Ultimate. But that is it for today's video, so hopefully this has helped you out if you've been looking at getting one of these wheels potentially to use on a different wheelbase. So yeah, it looks like for both the GT4 and the GT1 wheel, 70mm stud pattern for the GT1, 50mm for the GT4. So as long as you're mounting it on an adapter that has those two stud patterns, you shouldn't have any issues at all. And yeah, software wise, it really couldn't be easy. You just plug it in, it all just works with the built-in Windows drivers straight out of the box. You don't need to install any other software, and you are off and set to start racing. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Leave a thumbs up if this video has helped you. Make sure you are subbed and hit that notification bell if you're not already. If you want to help support the channel, there are links in the description below, as well as our join button where you can sign up for membership. And yeah, that is pretty much it, guys. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye.